This is the Sunday Motivational Video. Every Sunday, we bring you a different type of video which should improve your life. Today, we're looking at 15 subjects you should have been taught in school but weren't. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello, Aluxers. It's amazing to have you back with us for this special Sunday video. Life has pretty similar paths for most of us. We are born, our parents take care of us, we get educated, we figure out a way to sustain ourselves, we form a family, and we have our own kids. We grow old, and then we die. Such a great way to kick off this video, huh? But in this video, we're going to focus on the educational part, since it takes the bulk of your life. Most people spend 12 years or more in the education system. Assuming an 80-year average lifespan, that's about 15% of your life. The goal of the entire thing should be to make you self-sufficient and a positive part of our socio-economic system. Unfortunately, at least in the last couple of decades, it doesn't do that good of a job. It's pretty decent, but from an efficiency and effectiveness perspective, it could definitely be better. We took a look at the subjects taught in school and made a list of things we wished we would have learned while we were getting educated and prepared for life. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. Here are 15 things you should have been taught in school, but weren't, from our humble perspective. Number 1. How money works. Wouldn't you love to learn in school how money works? Why some people earn more than others, how to increase your salary, how to save money, or how to invest it. Even today, in most households, money is still a taboo subject, despite it being the fuel of our society. Your parents are barely figuring it out for themselves, and most of your teachers lack a fundamental understanding of money. There are so many aspects of finance which would have been really useful to learn in school in order for everyone to be more efficient in their lives, like how to balance a checkbook, how to save for retirement, why some people are better off pursuing businesses while others will be happier working in a company. Even if you had an introductory course to economics, we're not sure how much of the knowledge that was provided to you is directly applicable to your everyday life. It's really such a shame. Number 2. Mental health and physical health. Mental illness is a big issue today. 1 in 5 people is struggling with some form of mental issue. From ADHD to anxiety to depression, you never really learn about these in school. Mental health is a $100 billion industry in the US alone because we are never taught how to take care of ourselves. Despite standards of living going up, we see more and more successful people burning out or suffering from depression to a point where they just want to quit society. The number of college students who reported feeling depressed to the point where it negatively impacted their ability to function is 1 in 3, and almost 8% of students reported they have thought about suicide at least once during college. Those numbers are insane, and it's us not addressing these types of mental health issues that's leading to a very unstable society. The rise of pharmaceutical companies capitalizing on this trend should also be a big pointer at how big this issue is. And that's just the mental part of things. You also never learn how to take care of yourself and your body. Understanding how your body functions, what it needs to run more efficiently, and first aid classes are all something we believe should be mandatory everywhere. Number 3. Dating and romantic relationships. You're going to spend the majority of your life in a romantic relationship with someone. How about we learn how to pick the right one? This new generation is growing up with Tinder, nudes, and Netflix and chill as viable dating options. As a result, they'll never be able to develop emotional intelligence and the ability to prospect a viable partner until way later in life. That's why we see so many men suffering from Peter Pan syndrome. It's completely acceptable in today's society to be 35 and act like a kid. Social media is putting an emphasis on the external images we portray, but it's her mindset, character, and passion that will raise your children, not her looks. The problem begins when you're finally ready to move on to the next level and have no idea what you're supposed to do. Relationships are not easy. They demand effort and a completely different set of skills in order for them to grow and evolve properly. Dating and relationships are crucial parts of living, and that's going to be tricky to teach on a large scale. This type of teaching curriculum should be updated along with technology. The last thing we want is to have old Mr. Garrison trying to explain how dating should be done. Number 4. Taxes and bills. Benjamin Franklin used to say, "In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes." We might actually cure death before we find a way to work out taxation. Taxes and bills are a necessary part of life, and you'll have to deal with them a lot more frequently than you'd have to use geometry, actually. So it would only make sense that by the time you finish your education, to have the slightest idea of what you're doing come tax season. How to budget so you can keep the lights on. What the hell are deductibles, and how can you use them to balance your life from a financial perspective? All very valuable skills that you have to sort out for yourself. The bigger issue is, the lack of understanding of how taxes work could actually result in serious problems if not managed properly. Number 5. How to make friends and be more social. This is another thing we left to chance. Just put a bunch of kids in the same room and they'll figure it out. And it sort of did work okay, but what do you do once you get older? Have you noticed how hard it is to make new friends after you've finished school? This is a serious issue because one of the main requirements for being a successful individual is your ability to connect and network with other people, so much so that many people believe that your net worth is directly correlated to your network. There are techniques and behaviors which are super valuable, and we had to search them out for ourselves in order to figure them out. Once we did acquire those skills, suddenly it wasn't that difficult to make better friends and connect with people we've never met before. The best resource right now on the topic is a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People, which has been around for so long because the advice is timeless. The audio version is fairly expensive at $32, but if you go to Alux.com/freebook and sign up, you can get it for free. You're welcome, Aluxers. Number 6. Debt, interest, and mortgages. Unless you've been following this channel for a while or are financially educated yourself, you probably have no idea about the differences between good debt and bad debt. Most people finish school with zero introductions to how debt, interest, and mortgages actually work. Why is it so important to learn about these things? Because at some point in your life, you'll want to buy a house for yourself, maybe a car, or even save some money for rainy days or retirement. How do you even buy a home? What's that process like? Most people have to ask around or figure out the process as they go along. The problem with the current educational system, especially in the US, is that you're put into colossal debt without first being educated on how to manage it. It's almost like they want you to be hooked on debt. Starting off your professional life with close to $100,000 of debt and zero knowledge on how to manage and strategize the repayment is setting up youth for failure. Most kids today are beginning their professional lives with a financial handicap. Even after you repay it, you are crushed by the skyrocketing prices in cost of living and real estate. Unless you have more than a decent understanding of how banking works, how to use debt to your advantage and manage your mortgages, you're destined to live a stressed-out life, very similar to what's known as Red Queen Race, where you need to run fast just to stay in place. Number 7. How to learn for yourself. Learning how to learn. How much of a phenomenon of a skill that is. If you only got this right out of school and didn't feel the need to beat the system in order to get higher grades, your life would be so much easier, because this is the skill to rule them all. The upside is enormous. Once you are taught how to approach acquiring new skills and teachings for yourself, the world is your oyster. You can learn, do, become whatever you want because you now have a method. School today is more focused on grades, which are directly connected to your ability to regurgitate information that, to be honest, is widely available and one Google search away. The problem we see is that most people have no idea how to download useful knowledge into their minds and then leverage that in their personal lives. Learning anything requires a combination of resources, time, focus, and feedback loops, which are meant to improve the quality of your learning outcome. Number 8. How to find your passion and your values. The last thing you would ever want is the school to tell you what your values are and what you should be passionate about. But it would be really damn useful if they created a framework so you could find that out for yourself. Imagine instead of learning the names of every mountain and river in your country, you dedicated a year to introspection, where teachers would nurture almost a meditative state where every student would really think about what makes them happy and then play around with that in order to visualize pathways towards creating a life built on that passion. We're having such a large identity crisis because we never ask ourselves very basic questions like, what do I want to feel like in my life? What are some things I dislike in others? Do I share those same traits? What are some things I like about myself? Should I nurture these traits? Are these useful skills in life? What are my values? How do I want people to treat me? Should I compromise? These are very valuable questions, which you will eventually need to answer if you want to have a purposeful and a happy life. Unfortunately, the way school is structured right now, everybody is being put in the same box, and most of what makes each individual special is wasted in order to achieve a more homogeneous result. Number 9. How to find the right job and prepare for an interview. So you're done with school, right? Now what? Many of you probably ask your parents for recommendations or someone who's a bit older for a game plan. Otherwise, you have no idea what you're doing, resulting from time wasted, resources consumed, and feeling that you'll need to compromise at every step of the way just to get some experience to begin with. Not only should the process of finding a job be taught in school, but you should have a basic understanding of how to rank different jobs to find one where you could prosper and be efficient. Unfortunately, we're seeing more and more people work in separate fields or industries from what they studied for. What a waste of time that was, right? The skill of finding the right fit for who you are is called prospecting, and it's something you'll probably use several times in your life, whenever you're faced with a choice. Situations like picking a job, picking a city to live in, picking a life partner, all imply your ability to prospect and make a decision based on that data. Once you figure out what job would be the right fit, you need to be able to prove to the company that you'll add value to their organization. Preparing for an interview is another one of those things that would be easy to teach, but it's completely neglected, thus resulting in people having no idea how to structure a real CV, what they're supposed to research before the meeting, how to present themselves for an interview, and how to negotiate their salaries and professional trajectory. Because we definitely see a lack of professionalism in this regard, at some point in the future, we'll make a video with everything we've learned from our experience and from that of other companies we've had the pleasure to work with, and what they look for in an employee and what successful interviews look like. Hopefully, it'll help some of you guys out. Number 10. How to speak in public and sell an idea. Believe it or not, on average, public speaking is the one thing that people fear more than death. What would it be like if in the 12 years you spent getting educated, you would conquer this fear to the point where you're more comfortable presenting yourself and entertaining a discussion on any topic? Life is a big connect the dots game, where each dot is an uncomfortable conversation you'll need to have and overcome. You'll need to make quality friends, to gain the trust of partners or employers, and you should be able to articulate why that would make sense for both parties. Getting a job, that's you selling the company on the idea that you are the right fit for their organization. Getting married, that's you selling your partner on the idea that you are the right fit for this journey. For some reason, selling has such a bad rep, when in reality, it's just properly articulating a possible series of events for the foreseeable future that people are willing to back with their own time, effort, and sometimes money. You will have to speak, or at least type, to others why they should care about you in general, and we have a different approach to this than most people. We've modeled our public interactions based on what we've learned from TED Talks. We always found them fascinating and entertaining, so what if you could speak the same way a TED speaker does? Fortunately, the founder of TED actually put out a book on this issue called TED Talks, the official TED Guide to Public Speaking, which is regarded by many, us included, as probably the best book on public speaking there is. We'll link to it in the description, but if you don't want to pay $21 for the audio version, you can go to Alux.com/freebook, sign up, and get it for free courtesy of our partnership with Audible. And if you've been struggling with public speaking or just want to take it up a notch, signing up and getting the free audiobook is a no-brainer. Number 11. A basic understanding of cooking, how to take care of yourself, and home maintenance. By the end of your education, it would be really valuable if you were self-sufficient from all standpoints of your existence. That's the least you would expect, right? You will spend a large portion of your life, around 1.5 hours per day actually, eating, yet nutrition is not something you typically learn about. The introduction of basic cooking would allow students to work with food and get more personal with what they put into their bodies. Cooking is a basic human skill, and as things move forward, we're not seeing many make use of it. We mentioned cooking because that's where being a healthy individual starts, with the fuel you put into your body. Then the natural progression is how to nurture and develop yourself. It's important to learn how to take care of yourself because you might find yourself in the position to take care of others, and that's a dangerous slope to go on if you don't know what you're doing. The difference between having basic knowledge on CPR, how to treat a wound, the importance of vaccination, how medicine works, and how to apply it to both yourself and others is the difference between life and death. It truly saddens us when societies devolve based on ignorance and running fads. Number 12. Digital and personal etiquette. We live in a digital world. More than half of your awake time is connected to a digital version of reality. You're in the digital space right now, consuming this video through your screen. Your digital profiles are online 24 hours every day, accessible to almost anyone looking to find them. But how is your data used? What information do you allow to exist in your digital corner? How does it impact your online and offline reality? Almost every person you interact with at some point will scan your digital profiles in order to get a better idea of who you are. Having pictures with yourself taking shots to the face as your profile pic, using foul language in your posts, showcasing unrespectful behavior in your interactions with others will all have repercussions. This is the reality we live in today. Your online presence is the cover of the book that is you, and people are judging you based on it. Most people don't have a basic understanding of how they should behave anywhere. They're just winging it. Good manners are something we associate with the 19th century English elitism and have long been forgotten. Just take a moment and realize that asking for nudes is a legitimate first interaction some people have with other human beings. Yeah. Speaking of nudes. Number 13. Sexual education and parenting. Now, we're not talking about the banana and rubber moment, which, by the way, only happens in very few schools around the world. Most schools rely on students to figure it out for themselves from external sources, like family, friends, or porn. Some people are born with a different sexual orientation than you, and that's completely okay, because teachers don't want to have embarrassing conversations with students, conversations which they consider taboo in their own personal lives. Many youths are left confused and need to fill the empty spaces on their own. If experience has taught us anything, it's that people fear what they don't understand. Not only will you have sex at some point in your life, statistically, you'll also bring children into this world. Parenting shouldn't be something you have to put together based on a couple of articles you read on mommy blogs. If a society really cares about its future, we want to raise children who will be able to raise even better children than we were able to when the time comes. This incremental improvement on parenting will lead to better and better societies, to more progress and better understanding between the people you share this planet with. Because of the lack of proper sexual education, we're left with children having children of their own. At 16, you have no idea what you're doing with your own life, so being the guiding light for a new one is definitely something you're not prepared for. Number 14. Human rights, how the government works, and why it's important to vote. You know how we mentioned values at number 8? The manifestation of core values on which a society prospers is found in the human rights. This is something fairly new that we humans came up with, and it's the best thing we were able to create so far. Human rights are the backbone of any well-functioning free society. Upon these, we have built complex governing structures, which are put in place to oversee that we are moving in the right direction, or at least that's what's supposed to happen in theory. Do a small experiment and ask any random person on the street how the government works, and after whatever answer they give you, follow up by asking them to expand on that. Most people will find it really difficult to articulate what's happening. For too long, we've allowed governments to behave how they have been because we've entrusted them with so much power they eventually shielded themselves under a mist of bureaucracy and slogans. The lack of transparency most governments embrace leads to corruption and inefficiencies throughout the entire system. Yet governments aren't that complicated if you take the time to look at how they function. As most industries get disrupted by the rapid ascent of technology, governments, the way they function now, are probably short-lived. Our money is on a more direct form of democracy, where people have more and more control to a larger portion of the resources we used to entrust to the government. Hopefully, it will not be long until you can exercise your vote and voice on problems which directly affect you, from elections to the use of a portion of the public funding available in your neighborhood. For some reason, people feel disconnected from the entire process and do not see voting as the super powerful tool that it truly is. It allows you to alter the course you wish your shared reality will take. Without exercising your right to vote, you're just not allowed to complain about how things are going. Keep that in mind. Number 15. Time management and discipline. We've never seen people waste time the way we've seen in universities and schools. Give a student 3 weeks to finish a project, and in the last 4 hours before deadline, that group chat is blowing up with everyone trying to pitch in the least amount of work that would get them a passing grade. This type of behavior is addicting because those 4 hours get the job done. But the result, that person will take this behavior with them throughout life and will result in major inefficiencies through all aspects of their life. We are professional procrastinators, and most of it is due to a poor educational system. You shouldn't be disciplined by others, but instead be presented with the opportunity to discipline your own mind and actions and see what kind of positive effects it can have on your life. You will eventually die, so you might as well manage the time you have properly so you can get to enjoy the ride instead of rushing through it one deadline at a time. Discipline is probably the most valuable skill you can nurture in yourself if you wish to live a happy and successful life. That's why a while back we dug really deep and made what is probably one of our best videos to date, called 15 Steps to Master Self-Discipline, which you can check out by clicking in the top right corner. We recommend you watch it after this video ends. Well, that was a long one, wasn't it, Aluxers? But we're curious to know, what would you add to our list? What subjects do you think should be taught in school that aren't right now? Let us know in the comments below, and as always, we'll join in the conversation. And for watching with us until the end, you know you get a reward. Here's another subject we wish we would have learned more about in school. Number 16. How to leverage technology to your advantage. The world is changing faster than ever before, so both educational methods, curriculums, and the way knowledge is being passed from one person to another is being outdated as we speak. We've learned more from audiobooks and YouTube videos than we probably have learned in the traditional education system, or at least we found more value in what we taught ourselves. Leveraging technologies to your advantage opens up almost unlimited opportunities for those who embrace these new tools. We believe education is changing dramatically right now with a focus on self-education. This happens because most people feel betrayed by the existing system and don't want to be left behind. We believe you guys are members of what we call the new school, a time where education transcends beyond the physical space. As Aluxers, you are actively bettering yourselves without anybody else asking you to do so, and for that, we want to congratulate you. If you're still watching this video, please write "New School" in the chat box or the comment section below the video. That way we know you've taken the right steps towards self-education. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos, which we recommend you watch next. Thank you for being an Aluxer, and we'll see you back tomorrow.